Well, I was going to wait and see if the cue hit the corner, but I know that it never does. I'm sorry to disappoint. So I thought I'd better start. Hello and welcome to another Q sessions. If you haven't come along to one of these before, it's all about helping you guys get the most out of your mixer. So we're doing sessions on SQ and Q and D-Live and Avantis and also Zone. So every Thursday, don't know what time it is where you are. It's 3 PM where I am in sunny Cornwall. It is actually sunny for once, weirdly. But yeah, we've got lots of sessions that we've done and lots of sessions that are coming up. So I'm going to post a little link here. There we go. And if you want to see what's coming up, keep an eye on that page. You can also scan through, excuse me, you can also scan through and look through all of the sessions that we've already done. They're all recorded, they're all available. We've got loads on YouTube and on Facebook as well. So yeah, go check them out. Roy Evans says, time for a cuppa. Time for a cuppa. I've almost run out of this tea. I should have made a tea. Normally I'm slightly better prepared. Normally I make a tea just before. But today I forgot, so I've only got a tiny little bit left. So we'll see how we get on. Hi Douglas, welcome. 11 PM in Perth. Perth's one of those places where I can't say I've actually been because I landed there and took off again. But hello Ben and welcome. So if you guys have got any questions at all, please post them in the comments or in the chat, and I will try and get round to them. We do have one question, 10 AM where Douglas is. We do have one question that came in before, so I will go through that one first. But yeah, please do post your questions. What I didn't do today, I thought we could talk a little bit about effects, but I haven't prepared loads of things. I decided not to put you through the pain of a PowerPoint like I did in the last session. So you'll be glad to hear that. Hi, Tony in Miami. Welcome. Yeah, so if you have got any questions, please put in there. Otherwise, it's going to be a really short session and we'll just mess around with some effects for a bit. But, hopefully it's still useful. So the question that came through was from Gerry Bukowski on Facebook, and it is, I would like a walkthrough of setting up effects on stage monitor mixes for live sounds. And this is something that comes up quite a bit, so I'm happy to cover it as many times as you guys would like. I'm going to try and do it in a slightly different way today. So Gerry, they have just got, I couldn't fit all the text on the screen, but they've just got a Q24 that they've installed and their first show is this weekend. So cool. That's going to be fun. I love that kind of, oh my goodness, like first show on this desk. Those nerves, it's brilliant. So let's look at, I've got Qu-Pac here, so I don't have any faders. And you're using the Q24. So what I thought we'd do is look at, I can open it up. Hopefully you guys can see that. I've got the app here. So I've got Qpad running in front of me. And I'm going to quickly show you on here how it would work. So we can see we've got our LR mix on the right-hand side. So that's the same as having the blue LR mix key pressed. And I can change my master level there. So that's like my master send fader. I've also got all my send faders to that master send. These ones are linked, so that's why they're moving together. But this one isn't, so there you go. So that's the input channels going to the left-right mix and then going out to your main mix. So that's pretty straightforward, right? If you want to send channels to a mix on stage, so this is like your monitor mix on stage, sometimes referred to as an aux mix, I would select the mix, and you can see the background's changed here. On the console itself, obviously it would light up on the key to show you that you've got mix 1 selected, and you do exactly the same. So I've got my master send to that monitor speaker, and I can change to have different levels going. And for now, we're going to kind of ignore the pre-post thing. I'll gloss over it, but if you guys want me to go into detail on that, that'd be cool. No, let's do it. Let's do this properly. So pre-post. For most monitor mixes, you're going to have a pre-fade send. So what that means is the levels that I'm setting here are completely independent, if I go back to the left-right mix, of the levels I've got in the left-right mix. So mix 1's completely independent. I can set this at minus 5.9, apparently. And that is going at minus 5.9 to that mix 1. in LR, I could set those same channels to -20 odd, and that's going to go at -20 to the main mix. So that's pre-fade. If I switch that to post-fade, so I can switch into individual channels. So by switching off pre, I'm effectively switching it into post. And I'm also going to show you what that looks like on the mixer, because I can. So that's my routing, and then I've got mix sends, and then I've got pre, post. So for each of the mixes per channel, I can set those in pre or post. So for post fade sends, the output level is a combination of the setting I've got that you can see here, going to mix 1, and the setting in the left-right mix. So it's like a product of the two of them. So if I set that, to try and explain, if I set that to 0 dB, no change, whatever is going now to mix 1 is exactly the same as what's going to the left-right mix. If I set that to -5, then if I set this to -5 as well, actually what's going to go to that mix is -10. If I set this one to -10, what's going to that mix is -15, because it's a combination of those two send levels. So where this comes in really useful in terms of post is actually for the effects, because when you send to an effects unit, it's the same principle. So I'm going to send to effects 1, which happens to be a reverb. And you'll see by default, all of these are on post. And the reason for that is that if you pull down a channel in your main mix, in your main speakers, the send going to the effects unit will follow that fader movement. So if you pull the fader all the way down to the bottom, you're not going to hear, in this case, your reverb. So it'll follow what you're doing, and it'll all match up. It's like making sure that they're all relative. They follow each other around. So with that said, post fade send, you're sending out from that channel now. So I'm going to send that same channel out to the effects unit. So out to effects 1 send. And effects 1 send goes to, and you can see it on the screen obviously here, but if I go over to my mix again, effects 1 send, and my effects screen will go to effects unit 1. I've got a bit of funny glare there. Maybe if I close this curtain. Is that better? Slightly better. So effects 1 is now getting the signal from that channel 1 and channel 2. How can I send it some signal? I can't from here, but you can see there's a little meter by the side of that button by effects 1, effects 2, effects 3, etc. And that's going to that reverb. So that unit's got some signal now. I've sent it those channels 1 and 2. To get the signal back out from that, I've got an effects return. So let's go back onto my pages here. I'll go to my effects layer. On your mixer, this is going to be on the Q24. This is going to be in your second layer, so your higher layer. So not the one with all the mono channels and all the mic inputs, but the other one, top one. And you want to take that effects return and send it to a mix. So now what I need to do is select mix. So I'm going to select mix 1 again, which is my monitor speaker on the stage. And I'm going to send the output of that effects unit to that speaker. So it's kind of going in a loop. So it's got an input coming in, which we can see here. I'm sending that input to effects 1 by going to the effects 1 send. And this is my master send to the effects 1. That sound is getting to the effects unit, and then the sound coming out of the effects unit comes to effects return. And now I need to choose where I send that effects return. So by default, if I jump on, I think I've got this set up as default. If I jump to left, right mix, you'll see that those are all on and set to 0 dB. And that's why you can immediately hear when you send to an effects unit, the sound in your main speakers, but you won't necessarily hear them in your mix because by default, that was turned down. So all you need to do is turn up the effects you definitely want to hear in your monitors. Because, for example, you might not want to hear delay. So I know that effects 3 by default is a delay. I might not want to hear that delay in the monitors because it might put off the singers. So hopefully that answers your question. I know that Raphael was very very efficient. So Rafa's one of our great support guys, and he was very efficient and jumped in and has already answered the question. But I thought I'd cover it again here. So hopefully that's helpful. Cool. Let's see what we've got. Oh, my mouse is disconnected. Let me just connect it back up again. So Tony's in Miami. Roy loves his 2 Qu-Pac. 2 Qu-Pacs, Roy. I've only got one, but I do love my Qu-Pac. It's so just portable as well. I love the fact that you can just stick an AB1608 on it and stick either side of the stage, and then for all those small stage things, you can just plug and go. Really, it's really, really quick. Saludos, Hugo. Saludos. Okay, guys. So if you've got any questions, like I say, please do post them in the chat. But as we haven't got any so far, I'm going to have a quick look at some of the effects options that we've got, and also look at some inserts, because that's another thing we can do. So what's the easiest way to do this? Over here, probably, on the unit itself. So in the effects screen, you can just about see it's a library. Where is it? Here. There. And that's the function key in the effects screen. So if I press on that, I can see my library of effects. Just focus that a little bit more better for you there. Come on, guys. Come on now. Come on. Do you know what? I think it was fine. So I've got a bunch of reverbs and the effects types here. I've got delays and delay presets, modulators, gated reverb, and I can load up an empty rack if I don't want anything. I don't want to accidentally have any reverb or whatever. So let's have a quick look at the reverbs first. So in the Q, if I go through my factory library, there are 4 different types of algorithm for the reverb, and those are displayed, if I close this down a second, just over here on the left. So where it says EMT, that's the EMT algorithm. If I open up, let's open up a hall. Sorry, just get, there we go. So that's a classic. And these are all slightly different under the hood, and they give you slightly different options as well in the expert mode. So I've got halls, I've got plate. Now the plate, what's the plate using is a classic as well. Let's see if I can find some of the other ones. So I should have a room. Oh no, press the wrong button. Room. There you go, so that's the room algorithm. And my favorite ones are probably the EMT ones, to be honest. They're the ones I use the most. So let's just grab one of the EMT. So EMT 250. Okay, so now I've got a bunch of settings here. So let's try and get the best out of these effects units. So on the input, as you're coming in, so from that send, the effects send, you've got the option to cut high frequencies and low frequencies. So just to like box in that sound, if you want to, chop off a load of the top end if you just want something really thick and warm and lots of low end, or you could make something really bright and sparkly and take out all the bottom end if the room's very like muddy and you don't want to like muddy up the mix anymore. All depends on what you're doing. So yeah, you can chop those out. I think that makes sense. Pre-delay. So pre-delay is going to be the gap between when it gets the sound and when it starts doing like the reverb and stuff. And then you've got echoes and stuff in there as well. Then you've got decay time, which is your overall reverb decay time. High frequency decay, so that's really useful. And what that does is when you think about a natural space, the high frequencies will kind of bounce around and get absorbed quicker. So you want the high frequencies to absorb quicker than the lower frequencies. So that high frequency decay and the high frequency slope will set how that decay works and that high frequency decay works. So if I go into expert, so that was in expert, but if I go into expert, I've got decay delay. So that's the reverb, just the decay delay. Echoes, which my initial echoes, delay textures, so diffusions, and that's like kind of how many repeats are in there because it's all like delay based. If you've got too much diffusion, sometimes you can get kind of more metallic-y sound. If you've got less, then you've got a thinner sound. So, I mean, have a play, obviously. Personally, I like less diffusion. I think I like hearing the sound of the delays almost, which is less natural, but makes for a nice effect. Then you've got modulation depth and speed, so you can kind of mix up that decay tail. If you turn the depth right up, you're going to get the sound kind of going wow 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 wow, and speed is how fast it's doing that. Then you've got the low frequency crossover and low frequency decay, and those are separate. So that works a bit like with the high frequency decay, where you have a crossover. So you can get really in depth with these. This is expert mode, of course. And then you've got color as well, so you can add some color in. And again, that can sound metallic if you start to do a very particular frequency, but also you can kind of tune it, and you can tune it to rooms, or you can tune it to songs, or you can tune it to just get that decay sounding exactly as you want. So adding in color to the reverb to tune it, really to tune the tone of it. And then you've got the reflection level and the decay level. So that's in the EMT, for example, and obviously the different effects have different ones there. Different things available. So those are the reverbs, and usually you might have it's got a bit bright there, hasn't it? Usually you might have like by default, you've got a shorter reverb, and you've got a longer reverb, like a big, huge hall type reverb. But obviously you can set these up however you want, and any of these 4 effects units can run any of the effects units. So I could, in that first one where I had a reverb, I can load up a delay. So let's just load up a delay. So I could have 4 delays running if I wanted to, or 4 reverbs, or just set it up however you like, whatever works for you. I see some questions coming in. So greetings, Frisko in Hungary. David says there is this is let's answer this question quickly, and then I'll go back to the effects if you guys want to. So David says, is there a reason why the Q1624 isn't expandable to 32 channels via stagebox like the Qu-Pac and QSB? So David, the reason is because the first Q that came out was the Q16, and it's really a digital version of the Mix Wizard, which is one of our most popular and longest running series. Kind of it's like a very popular touring utility 19-inch rack mount, 16 channel. They come in slightly different channel counts, but 16 channel mixer. There's a monitor version, there's a 14.2 version, there's a 16 mic input version, and the Q16 was developed as a digital, almost a direct digital version of that, with all the effects built in. And you see you've got 2 effect sends, and it was so popular and so well received that we expanded the Q range with the Q24 and 32. So again, it's fixed format. So you've got the 16, then you've got the 24, and then you've got the 32. So you've got input per channel, and that all keeps simple, nice, easy, makes sense. When we came to do the Qu-Pac and the QSB, which came later, so the Qu-Pac came later and then the QSB, we took the largest of the brains, just the Q32 brain, and stuck that in the Qu-Pac and stuck that in the QSB as well. And the benefit there is that it means that you can stick on an expander. So rather than it being just a remote audio unit in the case of like Q16, Q24, Q32, because that's the amount of processing they've got, having that Q32 brain in there, we decided, well, hang on a minute, you can actually mix 32 channels with this and still have it in a small compact frame. So it can still be rack mounted. The Qu-Pac and the QSB can both be rack mounted. But because you're controlling them mostly from iPads like this, it's very easy to get to those extra channels. So yeah, that's kind of the reason in a roundabout way. So it's not so much that they don't have the ability to expand to 32 channels. It's the fact that we added that ability to the Qu-Pac and QSB. Okay. So Henoch says, hi Keith, does Qpad and QU work from the internet by using network port forwarding? What port does it use? If you contact us, I don't know off the top of my head, but if you contact us, I can let you know those ports. However, the Q works with an active connection between the device that you're using. So in this case, I've got my iPad, which is just closed. So I'm just opening it back up in case I need to show you something. So the Qpad app or the QU app is connecting continuously with the Q mixer, and that is like needs to be a really solid connection. If you start getting dropouts, you can start missing packets, you can start missing messages, you can cause all kinds of problems. So it has to be a really fast, and that's why we always recommend having a dedicated router as well. So it needs to be a really solid connection. So you might be able to get it to work over the internet. I know, if you've got really fast connection speeds, you might be able to get it to work. But if you think about things like metering, where you're sending all the metering for all of the channels to all of the nodes, because you could have a couple of mixed Q-pads connected, and you have to send out the metering for everything because you don't know which one's picking up what metering. You can kind of see that there's a lot of data going around very quickly, and it could cause problems if it doesn't get anywhere. Choco Milk is watching from the Philippines. I'm going to put Choco Milk up because I like the fact that Elmo is Choco Milk. So the expert options seem very good to me. I've left my reverb with nice effect. I suppose any cut frequencies of parametric EQ. That's a very good point. So Salvatore is saying about with these effects returns. If I jump back to my Q-Pad, all of the effects returns have a PQ built in. So at the top, I can see my effect, but I also have a PQ afterwards. So yes, you can further shape it. You can add in that color that I was talking about in the expert mode. You can change how the decays are working, which you can't do in the same way with the EQ, but then you can further shape it afterwards just by adding EQ like you could to any other input channel. So yes, very good point. Thank you. Thank you. Shout out Circus. Shout out Choco Milk. If I have a PC, can I stream the audio? Right, here we go. What's this one? If I have a PC, can I stream the audio via USB-B to Stereo 1? We have used all 32 channels, so there's no slot for PC. If it's not possible, it's possible in a future update. So if you've got 32 channels, which you would have, like we were saying, on the Q32, the Qpack, or the QSB, then you have a 32 by 32 USB-B interface. So because you patch, you can patch anything you like out from the Q. So that's in the setup IO patch USB audio window. So you can send anything you like from the Q to the computer, but the channels that come back from the computer, those 32 channels, will come back on your 32 inputs. So if you've used all 32 inputs, you can't get those channels in another way, unfortunately. It is an interesting idea, though. It has been discussed a little bit. We don't know whether it's maybe confusing, but it's an interesting idea. So it might be possible in the future. We'd have to look into it. But I see what you mean. What you could do is double up some of those channels, because if you're using the 32 channels for your mic or line inputs or your local inputs or remote stagebox, then you want to get that computer signal in on another channel. So I get what you're saying. Get what you're seeing. DJ Sir Sparks, let's talk about a GLD. So get in contact with us, and this goes for any of you guys actually. But for something like that, you want to get in contact with us using... I've typed it out wrong. I'm just going to have to type it because I'm logged in. It's support.allen-heath.com. And we can look into that with you. If it's hardware, if it's definitely a hardware thing and you need to get it looked at, then that would be via our distributors. So our distribution partners are all fully trained and carry out any servicing and repairs and can look at anything and find any fault with anything. They are all highly trained and very smart people. So you can contact your distributor and they will have a service center or be able to put you in touch with the correct people. Can you expand? Roy says, can you expand the SQ range with SQ pack, please? It's all about Q today, Roy. It's all about Q. This is something that we get a lot, and that's why I'm joking with Roy. I'd love to, Roy. I'd love to. Okay. Yes, absolutely. It's not going to fit all of this on the screen, David. Hello. But yes, they are. That is the idea. It's a digital console with an analog feel, so it feels like analog. It works a lot like analog with the surfaces, particularly. It's Really easy to use. Select a channel, make some adjustments, select a mix, move the faders. Like all of that's super, super simple. And then you've got all of the benefits of digital as well. So you've got all these effects units that we were talking about. So good. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Okay, this is from threeriverav. How critical is the shutdown button? Interesting question. We do get asked this from people who use sequence shutdowns and stuff as well and want to shut down and boot up. In terms of how critical it is, it's really difficult to say because 9 times out of 10 you might be fine, but 1 time out of 10 you might corrupt something. It's really important. For example, if you do recording, you could mess up things like drivers if you've got a USB-B connected. It's kind of a what's it called? Graceful, like a graceful shutdown. So in the same way as you could turn off your computer, there's not a computer in there, but in the same way as you could just turn off your computer every time, or just pull a USB stick, which is all perfectly possible. And sometimes it might be fine and sometimes it's not. You could do that with the Q, but we wouldn't recommend it, basically. Okay, yeah. Any other questions, guys? Pop them in the chat. I haven't got enough tea. That's what's happened. I've lost the ability to speak, which is not good when you're trying to do a live stream. Henoch says, "Oh, people are helping each other. Okay, I'll drink my tea. Perfect." Okay. Oh. David's voting for the Qu-Pac. Qu-Pac. Good morning. Can you duplicate channels in the mixer Q32? Francisco says. Yes and no. So local inputs are fixed 1-to-1. So just in the Q32 itself, all of your inputs go 1-to-1. So one input, one channel, next socket, next channel, and you can't duplicate those. You can, depends what you're trying to do. You can, and what you've got connected, sorry, but you can use splitters on some channels. So you could use like input splitters and just split them to like standard analog splits, put them to 2 channels. But if you've got, and I can show you this, if you've got an expander connected or a digital stagebox connected, so your D-Snake in, you can set these up any way you like. So at the moment, I've got these set up, not connected, but I've got that one on 5. You maybe can read that. So channel 5 is channel 5, which makes sense. I can also set channel 6 to be channel 5. And channel 7 is channel 5. So that means that whatever's connected on socket 5 is now going to my input channels 5, 6, and 7. And if I go to 5, 6, and 7, so processing preamp, source, let's put those on D-Snake, so 5, 6, and 7. You'll see that those are all now socket 5. So this is not connected. I've actually got it connected to an SQ. But yes, that's one way that you can do it. So with an expander, yes, it's pretty easy. Otherwise, analog splitters are the way to go. DJ Senior, DJ Sir Sparks, Senior Sparks, I don't know, Senior, no, that's SNR, is in Memphis, Tennessee. I think for the official one thing, no, I've close to other Heath, I'll take it, should be you guys. Oh, no, that's interesting. But get in contact with us, Mr. Sparks. And yeah, and we can give you some more information on that. But yes, for a lot of places you can't kind of drop it off. There are centers in different places, but yeah, if you get in contact with the distributor, they'll tell you exactly what's right for your region. Can a Qu-Pac or QSB join a Chrome to make a big console with a sidebar? Ooh. So one thing, Douglas, and I know because I think I've spoken to you before, Douglas, about and I've seen that you're quite into some of the networking stuff as well. So you'll probably understand this with the clocking. A Q system has no way to clock to an external system. So at the moment, for example, where I've got my Q hooked up with my SQ, which you can do, The Q is the clock leader, and the SQ is following. So I've set my audio sync on my SQ to be the connection to the Q. So that's all fine. What I can't do is set the Q to have a sync from an external source. So if you had two Qs together, they would both want to be the leader, and it won't work out very well. So basically, you can't connect those digitally because they're two separate systems. What you can do, obviously, is take an output from one and bus it into another one. So you could just use one as a submixer, as you could with any mixer and any analog mixer. But no, you wouldn't be able to connect them up digitally in that way, or make one big mixer because they've got to process everything in their one brain, and they've got no way of syncing. Is a way to have a mono matrix mix of the output? Oh, okay. So threeriverav AV says, is there a way to have a mono matrix mix of the LR output, i.e. a matrix feeding a mono 70-volt lobby system? So personally, I think the easiest way to do this is, I can show you on the mixer. So I'll show you on the Qu-Pac. So IO patch again. So setup IO patch, surface, and then I've got alt out and AES out. So my alt out, I can have left plus right pre, or I can have left plus right. So if I do a left plus right, rather than the standard LR, that gives me two mono outputs for the alt out at the back. So if I do that, I've got a balanced left right combined output on the back, and I've got the alt out control, which you can't see, it's off screen, but I've got a separate alt out control on the front. So I'm not sure what you're using the matrix for. I don't know if you need extra processing or extra EQ or something like that, but that would be the way I'd recommend doing it. So hopefully that's useful. Something I see asked often. Roy says, can you split stereo aux mixes into two mono mixes? Unfortunately not, and that's just because of the way that the DSP works. So it's all locked together in DSP land, and the controls and the control system all apply to both of those channels. So although it gets split with the pan, so if you imagine input going to the two sides of the mix, that's always working at the same time. That's always working together. Oh, it's disconnected. No, don't disconnect. I've broken it. I can't show you any more keypad, sorry. So because those are split and they're all working together, we can't unfortunately split those out or combine them. So what some people have done is pan things very carefully. So you can pan something fully left or fully right, and you can alter it that way. But obviously you end up having to do kind of odd things with send levels, so it's not ideal. I would be really blunt and say if it's not working for you, if it's like if it's not giving you enough mixes, you probably need a mixer with more mixes. Sorry. But I know that everyone wants to squeeze the most out of their mixer, and that is what this is all about. I'm exactly the same. Okay, so there's not many more questions. What else was going to show you with the effects? But if you have any more questions, please do post them. Otherwise, I'll probably wrap up in just a minute. I was going to go through a couple more effects just to give you an overview. So I'll give you a last little chance for any questions you might got. Still looks blurry, but I don't know if it's the feed. Okay, so ADT is another standard one that we've got. So another part of the default setup. I wonder if the other screen's better. And this is automatic double tracking. So this is brilliant for like thickening up stuff. So you can have double track or quad track, so double. The delay separation, if you've got that much bigger, it will sound quite apparent that you've got these delays going on. So it's like it then turns into like a delay with really low feedback and really short delay time. But if you've got them really close together, it's emulating a double tracking technique, which is where you would have somebody like a singer quite often sing the same part try and sing it exactly the same way, but because they are always going to sing it slightly differently, you get this kind of thickening effect. So that's why there's thickness. You can have wide for the stereo, and you can have auto pan, so you can move it around a little bit as well. But yeah, really cool effect. Works really well. What are the modulators have we got? So we've got chorus, standard chorus. It's based on a very well-known chorus pedal. Someone did ask me once, what do you do in the verses? Which I thought was brilliant. You got a flanger. So this is also based on some pedals. So, oh, hang on, there's a jangle. I love the word jangle. So let's open that one. So flanger, similar to a chorus where it's a delay with modulation going on. So you get like, I feel like it's kind of watery noises with the flanger. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, pretty cool. I always recommend that people try things like flangers and choruses as well on cymbals, because they sound really cool on cymbals, and you can insert them. That's what I was going to show you. I'm going to show you insert. So I'll show you that now. So if I wanted to insert that on a cymbal, let's say I've got a cymbal on input 9, I can go to the back panel, and instead of it being mix return, where it's getting its signal from that effect send, I can set it as an insert, and then I just pick my 9 and hit apply. And now at the bottom here, you'll see I've got this dry wet control. So if I turn that fully dry, and I'm going to switch it in. So if I turn that fully dry, it's not really doing anything. But as I bring it in, it's going to be more and more wet until it's fully wet. So that's going to be all of the flange. That's going to be none of the flange. So yeah, try it on cymbals. It's really cool. I see there's some tips coming in. Roy says ADT is excellent for backing vocals. It is excellent for backing vocals. I've used it as well on like choral stuff. It seems to work quite well on. Okay, so that's the insert. What else have we got? Symphonic, yeah, symphonic chorus. That's very, very simple, straightforward, easy to use. Also based on a classic unit from the 80s. Just simple controls, frequency, and depth. And then we've got phaser. So this is based on another classic unit. This is quite in depth. This can do a lot and needs a lot of playing with and a lot of time. And I'm not even going to try and tell you how you should use it, other than play with all of the knobs until it sounds like you want it to. Yeah, phaser sounds great on cymbals as well, and big kind of washy sounds obviously sounds great on vocals for special effects, or on guitars it can sound quite good. And with that wet dry control as an insert, you can just dial in just a bit of it if you want. One other way you can use the effects units, so similar to that dry wet, is instead of having a mix return, you can have channel return. So I could actually select that channel again, so from 9, and that's going to then come out of my channel direct output. So wherever my direct output is set, hit apply, and now it's coming back into my effects return again. So I can use it in the effects return again. I can't show you because I switched off my blooming screen. But yes, you can use it as I was showing at the beginning. The signal is going directly out from the input channel, so it's only that channel going to it. And the effects return is the affected signal that you can choose where you want to send it. Cool. All right, see if there's any final questions. This is a good question from Just Friends. When using USB out, the level showing in Ableton seems a lot lower than on the Q. Should I drive up the level so I record up to 0 dB in Ableton? Okay, so this just is to do with, I'm going to find you the correct article. Blah, 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 blah. But this is to do with the difference in the metering that you'll see in the Q, where 0 dB is equivalent to minus 18 dBFS. So dBFS is full scale. So that's your digital, where 0 dB is the maximum you can get. And that's where, because it's digital, all of the bits are ones, if you like. So everything's on. That's full. That's the maximum number that you can represent, or maximum value you can represent. We leave 18 dB of headroom in there, and when you send off to USB, we don't change that, because if you're doing a recording, for example, and you hit a snare too hard, it means that you're not suddenly going to get horrible distortion because you've got plenty of headroom there. You're also not going to mess with the noise levels, or have those move around or do anything weird, because your noise floor is going to be the same. So you're not like losing information by having a quiet signal. You can normalize it later, but it's better to put that headroom in there and have some protection and have some leeway. Levels and metering, I believe it's called, in Q and SQ. Okay, so this might be useful. We just and that kind of goes into more detail about how you can eat into that headroom if you want to. For recording, I'd say don't worry about it. But if you are streaming, you might need to boost that level, and you can do that with compressors and makeup gains. Or you can just push the fader up, because you get an extra 10 dB by just pushing the fader up to the top if you've got like an aux output. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. So, question about... Is it contemplating more plugins for the Q? Oh, good. Look at that. It's translated it. What? The what? 16? That's a good translation. I like it. For example, a preamp tube. So the deep processing, unfortunately, the Q doesn't have the deep engine like we have on D-Live, Avantis, and SQ. So it can't do the tube emulation in the same way. That is a hardware limitation. So unfortunately, we can't do that on Q. Christian says, cheers, mate. Hi, Christian. Christian is awesome. Big up to Mr. Hanel. I don't ever know. Why don't I ever ask you how to pronounce your name, Christian? We need an octave on Q or SQ, mostly SQ. Well, this is all about Q, I'm afraid, Christian. I can be rude because Christian is a brilliant guy and a very good friend of mine. So I can be cheeky to him. But okay, I will note that. Thank you. It's an octave, one octave up, one octave down. That's what we need to know. I'm using Q to put in a brought A for the drum mics cross place in the out of batteries on the first 8 tracks to wah ha ha ha. Okay. So Frisko wants to patch so Q U24 AR 2412 8.4 for the drum mics. Okay, so the reason this is a question is because let me close that down. I'm going to try and draw this for you because that's the easiest way to show you. Let me get rid of my iPad quickly. And this diagram that I'm going to kind of half draw for you now. Let me just get this out of the way a second. So what you're going to have is this is my cue. Oh, right. That's my mixer, honestly. So Q, and that's going to connect out to the AR2412. And the AR2412 has to be the first in the chain. So it's got blah, 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 blah. And from there, you're going to connect on your 8.4. Okay, so 2412, 8.4. The 8.4 only has one port. The 2412 has 3 ports, which is your kind of main connection port plus your monitor port plus your expander port. So you're connecting the expander port out to the 8.4, and this means that the 2412 will show up by default as channels 1 to 24 on DSnake, and the 8.4 will show up by default as channels 25, and if my maths is right, to 32. But the reason this is a question from Frisko is because they would like to have the 8/4 be channels 1, 2, and inputs 1 to 8 because they're using it for drums. And I completely 100% agree with that. Let's have drums first. If you want to do a shout out for drums versus vocals first, please do argue in the comments. That'd be fun. But I'll show you how to do this. So if you go to your setup, D-Snake in patch, and the channel numbers at the top, that's the channels on the mixer where it's going to come in. So channels 1 to 8, you then want to source, if we go back to our picture, at the top where it says D-Snake, you want to source it from 25 to 32. So I just go on here. Now I have got these, let me just unlink these quickly because it's not that likely that you're going to have those inputs linked and it will start messing with things. Okay, so 1 is my kick and it's going to be on input 25. Now I can hit apply, which makes sense. But also to do quickly, just down here, you just about see off screen, the function key will do +1. So if I just keep pressing that, there you go. So now hit apply. So now my 8/4, which is the second box in the chain, is connected to input channels 1 to 8. And I just need to go through here. You already know this bit, but just to be thorough, let's select all those channels. I know there's already on it, but let's select all those channels and switch them all to D-Snake. And you can see now D-Snake inputs 25 to 32 are on channels 1 to 8. Hooray! Magic! So hopefully that helps, Frisko. Thanks for the question. Do you have any? Oh, difficult. Very difficult. Feedback's always a problem. Do I have any suggestion for a headset clipper mic that's good for church preacher but not easy to feed back? So it depends on your room. It depends on the setup. Depends on what kind of monitors you've got. Any good quality mic set up correctly should be fine, as long as you've rung out your monitors, which you can do with the Q, with the GEQ. And you can use the RTA to find the feedback frequencies quite quickly and easily and just notch those out, which I can show you if you like. But yes, you could use cardioid mics, which will help cut that down. You can make sure they've not got speakers behind them. You can make sure that you've notched out maybe frequencies on the mic itself that are very prominent. So all of that kind of stuff will help. But there's not a kind of single mic where you can say, okay, this mic, obviously a higher quality mic will be a flatter response generally, which will, and if it's got better response and it's not so peaky, then it's less prone to feedback. But you can't say, here's a mic that will answer all of your questions, unfortunately. Q-USB control doesn't work on Windows 11. Tried many options and my DAW Reaper doesn't detect it. Get in contact with us for that one because we haven't signed off on Windows 11 yet, but it should show up without drivers and be able to be used, especially by something like Reaper. But yeah, give us a shout and we'll look into that and see if it's something else going on, say with your devices. David says, just want to say thanks to you and the HT for doing these sessions. No worries. It takes one of the best. That's very, very kind, David. I'm not going to put that on screen because it just looks like we're showing off. But thank you very, very much. We just want you guys to be happy. So happy to help. Drums first, says Roy. Yes. Cool. All right, Frisko. Glad that could help. And Roy has also said that the DBX AFS2 is your friend, which is like a feedback suppressor unit, hardware unit. So yeah, you could do that, but it's all to do with kind of system tuning and system setup. All right, I've probably gone on far too long, but I have really enjoyed it as usual. So thank you very, very much for coming. I'll get more tea next time because my throat's gone a bit funny, and I've forgotten how to talk. But yeah, sessions in the future. I'll do another one shortly. in a few weeks' time, I'm going to post that sessions thing there. So keep an eye out for those. And if you've got any questions or anything that you want us to cover, or you want me to cover in the next Q session or in an SQ session or anything like that, let us know beforehand. You can add the tag. I'm looking out for those online, or just comment as it comes up, or send us a message and say, hey, it'd be great if you could do this rather than doing it via text, because we can always help you through the support system. If you want to actually see some buttons being pressed and stuff, this is a nice, easy way to do it. So just let us know. Enjoy the rest of your day, however much is left of it, and I will see you again soon. Tidy bye for now.